let's talk about brands that you love and why. What tell me what sort of impression they've left, why you really like these specific brands.
So I'll give you probably one that most people would do, and that's Apple. Only because of the value. So we talk about we're a values-based brand. I think that they're very aligned. They're a value, but they're also an innovator, and that's what's great. They are almost untouchable in a sense. I'm gonna do a little bit of my personal feeling here that I'm an iPhone girl, and when someone says they have an Android, I'm like, why? I don't understand. Why? Do you not know what Apple has?
Yeah.
So I think as a brand, that's absolutely something I've always looked to.
Simplicity in user experience, I think, is
yes,
so key in that.
But it's the innovation, it's the consistency, it's all of that. And then one that this is just a little bit my background is Caterpillar, because it's a brand that's been around. And for those who didn't have a dad who owned a construction company,
as in
Caterpillar, the tractors.
Yeah.
Yes, and so my dad owned a construction company his whole life. He worked in construction. That was what he did. When I drive through Stone Oak, where we live, I see pad site and building after building that he created. The road I live on, he helped build the pad site for. So just little things that are neat to me. So there's a personalization for me, but they're a brand that's been around for over 90 years. And I think it was last year they had almost 20% growth. And it is the consistency and it is the quality that they have. So I was quote unquote, because I wasn't really my dad's bookkeeper when I was in college on the summers. I didn't really do anything. He just paid me. And he had obviously so many choices when it came to different things, but he was so loyal to that brand. Because no matter what, they're expensive machines, but it was quality.
Yes.
And the customer service was there. The consistency was there. I mean, they are known for just being a great brand, and they're doing the same thing. They're not huge innovators. They might, I'll give you an excavator is the name of a tractor. They don't create this new, crazy, new machinery every time. They might, but for the most part, they stick to the basics, but they do them really well. And they consistently deliver on what they've promised. So for that, and that really, I think you've been in business for over 90 years and you still have a 20% growth, that's huge. Yeah. So that's a brand that I kind of value in that term.
I never would have thought of a tractor.
I know.
I have to say that.
I know, it's just me.
Yeah, well, you grew up around it, so I get it. What about people, brands, so influencers? Who do you follow on Instagram or Facebook that is very influential and you like maybe their personal brand? Is there anybody like that?
Yeah, so right now I have a new one that I've been, there's other women within the franchise industry and just in general that I've always followed, and not just women, but specifically Gigi Butler, the founder of Gigi's Cupcakes, has come to mind. And I've been reading her book and listening to other podcasts she's been on and TED Talks and things like that. And she is so aspirational. And going back to the very first question you asked me about this role and me saying hard work really does pay off, that's her. And so I have been following her. I've known about the brand for quite some time, but obviously taken up a little bit more of an interest over the last few weeks. And she is just an incredible person and just an aspirational woman, balancing work-life. She travels to every single grand opening, and she started by cleaning houses. And her story is that she was cleaning Taylor Swift's house and realized, hey, this 15-year-old can do this. What am I going to do? I need to get going on something. And she has, with a little bit of money and almost no resources, she has built this huge empire. So she's someone that really, because it's getting back to hard work, really does pay off. She's someone that aspirationally that I would really look to.
I know that Gigi's Cupcakes is now owned and has been, I believe, owned by private equity, but she still has obviously her name attached to the brand. So she's super, super involved in it.
Yes.
And I think that's really cool. So I know that you're going to be interviewing her soon.
I will be. Can I plug my own podcast?
Yes, go ahead. You can. You can.
I will. I was recently asked to, which is really exciting. It's stepping out of my comfort zone, even though as much as I love to talk, it's out of my comfort zone. Hosting a women in franchising podcast. And so Gigi Butler will be my first interview. And so I am terrified, but so excited. And so, the idea is that I'm interviewing other aspirational women and leaders within franchising. So Shane Evans has to come on it. You have to. But I'm really excited. So I will be starting that next week, actually. Yeah. And so it'll air quickly after.
Do you know what the secret ingredient is?
Well, there's lots of different ones for her.
Love.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. She actually signs her books like that. Yes, love is the secret ingredient. You're right. Yep.
Yep.
I
So
was going
that'll
a
be
little
fun.
too
So
deep.
you're getting your feet wet here. So this is good.
Yes. Being comfortable.
You'll just be in the opposite side of the roll on the rolls, right?
It seems much easier.
I know.
No, I'm kidding.
Something you've probably heard me say over the years, which is everything is marketing, marketing's everything, or
I've
vice
heard you
versa.
say that a few times. Just a few.
But it truly is.
Absolutely, yes.
Every little touch point is a representation of the brand, and the consistency and the experience. Whatever's most of the time, the first time people are going to see you, they see you digitally, a website or social media or what have you, right? And so whatever that message is there must be carried into the store level, the retreat level for us, and then in that overall experience. So
yes, and you bring up a great point is, again, it kind of goes back to alignment. If we're going to be out there saying and doing these things, then when they walk into our retreat doors, we have to say and do the exact same things. From the first time they walk in, through back into our treatment rooms, through the follow-up afterwards, we have to follow through. It has to be a consistent journey throughout because ultimately that's how we're going to get people to keep coming back.
What do you think? I agree. What do you think being an elevated brand means as it pertains to Massage Heights? What is this expectation that is set? And what do you think the areas of opportunity, sort of generally speaking, might be from operational excellence or marketing, what have you? What do you think that because let me just kind of give you some context around that. I've seen some marketing tactics that I don't think are necessarily very elevated.
Yes.
So kind of just tell me what that means to you.
I think you answered, at least how I would answer, you answered a piece of your own question as you were describing it. And that is, it sets a higher level of expectation. And that's from the minute you see us within a marketing piece. It cannot be word art, stuff thrown together, kind of. It has to be an elevated way in which we are talking about our brand and representing our brand all the way through to really the customer journey, the entire customer journey. So from seeing us to calling or going online to book an appointment to coming into our retreat locations to then follow up afterwards, everything is, you have higher expectations. When we say elevated, from a consumer standpoint, that's what I think. From a marketing perspective, that's what I think. It is this upgraded, almost premier level and expectation. So you go into the Ritz-Carlton, right? They are going to treat you, normally they would treat you a lot better than if you walked into a Motel 6.
Yeah.
I think that it just creates just overall higher level of expectation that we have to set or that are set as a brand. And then we have the responsibility to fulfill those needs and meet those goals. Because again, it goes back to if it's not a consistent journey and if we're not all aligned throughout operations, throughout marketing, throughout training, everything, then we are not following up on our promise, on our brand promise, because that's what it is. And shame on us if we don't do a good job on that, because we have all of the opportunity to do so. And going back to one of your points earlier is we're not perfect. No one is perfect.
Sure.
Not every single time are we going to be perfect, but we're going to work hard to make sure that it's right. If for some reason we do not succeed on that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I know that franchisees and their key operators can get really distracted by all of the opportunities at a local level that are presented. I know
lots of shiny things.
Yeah, lots of shiny things. I know, having operated retreats myself and still owning them, that a salesperson stops in almost every single day on this great thing that you should buy or advertise in or what.
And you're not doing it great right now, but I can make it great for you.
Yeah, it's the answer to all your prayers and generating prospects, right? And so that's what would you say about that? How do we help our franchise partners make good choices as it pertains to the local level marketing commitments that they make?
Sure. It's a great question. And it's one that I'm asked to a certain extent all the time and always will be. That is on us as a brand to make sure we're providing the right resources and alternatives for them. It's not to say that they're not going to work with possibly a local printer or a local vendor on certain things, but we need to make sure that if they are going to work with a local printer, that I'm providing the branded assets and spec guidelines and stuff for you to then print it locally according to what meets brand expectations.
Sure.
That's just one example, but it's an example of how we can do on our end to provide everything, assets, tools, resources, whatever it may be, So the things that you can localize,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it so within brand guidelines, meaning we are staying true to our brand promise, being an elevated brand.
And not just brand guidelines, though. It really about understanding, I think, what that opportunity is, and is it the right place to be saying what we say as a brand? What is the demographic profile of that
absolutely.
particular thing? And I think that's, again, being a small business owner and knowing what sort of opportunities come on a regular basis, it's you can easily get distracted or sucked
overwhelmed.
and making purchases, buys that
Yes.
aren't going to necessarily provide the right results because it's not the right place for.
Yes, and you have to stay focused. I mean, that's the thing and it is having a plan, having an integrated plan that encompasses all the different layers multiple times, ensuring that you have the layers and the frequency there.
Yeah.
There are going to be great opportunities that come along last minute or what have
Sure.
you that you don't want to be closed-minded to, but it's staying focused and making sure if there's an opportunity or a random guy that comes into my location and promises to be able to achieve the world, help me sell the world, does it go back to my ultimate goal, and is it going to help me to get there?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I would say to any strategic partner is if you have that, reach out, let me know. I'd love to hear it. But that's our job to help guide our strategic partners in that way and make sure that they're ultimately making the best decisions for them within their specific markets.
And planning ahead of time, right?
Absolutely.
So that there's that guidance and also some guidance on getting an idea of return on investment. I know it's pretty hard to really measure a lot of things
Yes.
as it relates to your marketing investments. One of the things that you can generally kind of get an idea on is your digital marketing efforts. Working with operations. How do you see that collaboration working, and what is the importance in that? And I guess more specifically, what are you going to do differently than what's been done in the past as it relates to kind of the cross department, creating cohesiveness?
I think a lot of that, the difference between me and possibly someone else sitting in the seat is just that I have worked my way up and I've been in all of those different roles. So I've been primarily just the doer, where I've had someone have this strategy and this vision, and I'm saying, there's no way that's going to work. And it might sound great, but we know it's not going to execute, or that is not a great decision or not the best decision for our franchisees or strategic partners. So it's having that knowledge and that experience for so long that ultimately helps me guide to make better decisions. And working with departments it has to be done. It has to be. And our franchisees, our strategic partners feel it. If it doesn't, it's very clear if that's not happening. And that's on us to be able to make sure that we do have those clear communications. It's an easy transition. Really, I would say because it's not a transition at all. Working with the field operations team, the operations department in general, is something that I've always had to do in my previous roles. So having those conversations, making sure whether it's regular weekly meetings, it just has to happen. And so everyone has to be, again, it kind of goes back to aligning our goals and strategies. Yeah. I can say something from a marketing perspective that I think is great and sounds like it would just be awesome for a brand to have out there, but if it cannot be executed in the field, then it's going to fail.
Sure.
So it has to be aligned throughout all systems in order for it to be a success.
Absolutely. We talked about alignment, and not just alignment with our operations team, alignment with our franchise partners through our franchise advisory council and the team members or the marketing committee members. What about alignment with suppliers? I know you've got a big meeting coming up. You want to tell us a little bit about that, what the focus is for it, why it's important, all those things.
Sure.
And what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am focused on building a portfolio of marketing partners that are aligned in our vision and our values. We have, similar to what we have with internal departments and external with our strategic partners, we have to be aligned from a marketing perspective. First and foremost, before we can then have the legs and have the conversations with marketing and team council and the marketing committee and everyone else that comes. So while we are going to the marketing partners that are expertise in their specific field, so we have digital partners, creative partners, social partners, we are going to the experts in their individual realm and segment. But they have to all work together and be aligned on one vision, one value, one goal. And that's important. So we have a meeting of the minds and a marketing planning meeting coming up. where we are flying in all of our different marketing partners for a full day, which will probably go long, meeting to really identify kind of our brand messaging and positioning. And it's just getting everyone aligned. We can't have fragmentation. There's no time for that, and it's not productive. No one has time for that.
Sure.
So we are all aligned on making sure these are our goals, breaking them out into quarterly buckets, and then identifying, these are our goals, identifying which partner plays a part. How do they play a part in achieving that overall goal? And this will not be the last time we meet in person. It will not be the last time we discuss it, for sure. There are going to be a lot of meetings and to-dos that come afterwards, but this is a really important first step to get everyone on the same track, making sure that everyone is working towards the same goal and everyone knows their place and how they're going to support us reaching that goal.
That's great. I think that is a great way to start the year off, and certainly your new role off. Getting the alignment from all those important partners is super critical. And we've got some really, really good partners that we've had some long-term relationships with, and we've got some newer ones as well that we know are very reputable in their respective industries and as well as in franchising itself, right? So, getting all those partners together is going to be an important part of that. And I know that you have plans, and we touched on it just now, but you have, part of the overall marketing plan this year from the local level up is recruitment. So, what is the significance in sort of the percent of overall dollars really at local to national level, regional level, all of it in between? Do you see as where should we be with that?
Sure. So I think it's a balancing act. So it's hard to say 50-50, which for a general statement it should be, but that's really individualized to the specific location. So we have some retreats that are very well staffed and they just need prospects in their door, or vice versa. And so it's a constant balancing act and almost teetering effect that thankfully, from a digital perspective, you can quickly make those adaptations and changes to your campaigns. But it's figuring out that making sure we're saying the right things to the right people on the right platforms, whether it's digital or not. But team member recruitment is huge. It is just as important as consumer. It absolutely is. You cannot have one without the other. And I think that's another piece you had asked me earlier about my new role and what I can bring to this new role. It's knowing that. If you had someone else sitting in this chair that came from another great brand, it is consumer. We just need to drive consumer. It's the best thing. Let's drive gift card sales and prospects and things. But they would miss this important piece that's really specific to not necessarily even a membership-based model. It's because we have licensed team members that we are trying to recruit. There is only a small pool of people or large pool. It's a specific pool of people that we are trying to capture, which makes recruiting for them a little bit harder. But again, that's why I love franchising. It's challenging, and let's do it. And so of that, it's working closely with the operations department and our team and the licensed massage therapists that we have not only at corporate but throughout the system, because I'm not a massage therapist, in case you didn't know. But I know a lot about it, and I can tell you about it, but I need people to tell us that. We need help. We need to know what's worked in the past, what's being executed in the field, what hasn't worked, what's speaking to our massage therapists. We have done a ton of consumer and team member messaging and focus groups, but we need to harness that information and actually put it into action. And so that's a huge initiative on marketing and operations this year that we will absolutely be paying a lot of focus to.
Well, and I know as it relates to team member recruitment, a lot of the efforts have been spent on, relationship with schools and that sort of thing. And there, you can only get so much out of that,
It's
right?
one piece.
It's one piece.
Yes.
And I think that the real opportunity, just based on what I know, is and what I've seen, and I know you've had some insights recently, I believe, to some of the advertisements that might be out there on the web, or lack thereof, as it relates to team member recruitment, right? So we have a huge opportunity. So where we think it's so difficult to hire therapists, it may not actually be that difficult. When I'm in the field, I often hear from the therapists that have come to work for us that they didn't come to work before because of two things, generally speaking. One, they had no idea who we were, right? And number two, if they did, they went to work for a competitor instead because they figured the competitor was bigger, they must be better.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a story to tell that to change their minds about that, that we are a different brand, that we're a family brand, that they're a values-based brand, the franchisees that we bring in align with those values, and that's super, super, super.
It's the YS. We know it,
Yeah.
but they don't know it.
Yeah.
It's our job then to say so and tell that story.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so giving our franchisees the tools to be able to do that really is going to be key, because I think in the past it really has been like, we'll go to the schools, well, how much traction you're going to get out of that?
Again, it's a small percent. That is one piece to the overall puzzle. And not to say that therapists right out of school are not great. Absolutely, they can be great.
Yeah. But there's only so many.
Yeah. And we have to make sure that we are broadening our horizons. Yeah. Ultimately, we're not going to attract the masses, which is what we need.
Sure. Okay, so I know one of the big plans for the year is a brand refresh. Can you describe what that means? What is a brand refresh specifically? What's your plan with that? And then how does even some of the stuff that we just talked about, like the website or what have you, kind of play into that? What can the franchisees expect?
Yeah, good question. And so I'm glad to kind of have the opportunity to set expectations there. I think some people might have the misperception that it means, we're cleaning house again and all new stuff and throwing out the stuff that we currently have. And it's really just going back to, you asked a question earlier on the elevated brand. Well, that is setting an elevated experience and higher expectations. So that one of the biggest pieces in that is when they step into our retreat locations, making sure that we have lived through and stayed true to our promise to ultimately have an elevated experience. So when you walk into some of our retreat locations now, I was at one just 2 days ago, and they have 4 different window clings up. And those 4 window clings are very different and say different things. Yep. And that's not to say that we can't have different messages and be telling a different promotion or different story at the same time, but it has to be aligned. And that's the for everything. So this, from the website that we're going to build out with Scorpion, from the paid digital campaigns that our strategic partners are going to do, the direct mailers, the local activation, we have to all tell the same story. If not, it is a disconnect within the customer journey. Sure. And it ultimately does not lead to this higher elevated brand experience that we're promising. So it really is, this brand refresh is really about refreshing. It's not resetting, it's refreshing. So we used to do quarterly retail resets, meaning that when you walk into our location every, I think it's 1.2 months, that you, as from a member's perspective, that you don't see the same retail sitting in the same spot with the same colors and and it becomes stagnant and you stop paying attention to it. So we will be bringing back a little bit of that retail resets, meaning changing up visually how it's located, where it looks, also getting aligned, making sure that collateral in general is going to be telling the same story and has the same look and feel. So we're not coming in here and cleaning up shop. I don't want to do that, nor do we need to do that. We really just need a clean house and refresh and get back to who we are as a brand, and making sure that when someone walks into our retreat, they smell the aroma. I mean, it's a whole, really, I do it when I walk into a retreat, is you just feel it. And I want that feeling, and then when I look around, to tell me the same thing that you have promised me throughout your website and the paid Facebook campaigns or whatever it may be, and throughout the experience I'm going to have when I walk into our treatment rooms.
So sort of reducing the clutter.
Absolutely.
Making sure that we have a really good retail merchandising strategy.
Absolutely, yes.
Probably sell-through strategies as well. That the messaging, the window clings, the counter cards and what have you are all in line, that there's continuity there, that we don't have too many different messages. And so just sort of assessing what's out there and just removing some things.
Yes.
And then, like you said, just kind of bringing it to
kind of enhancing and improving and bringing it to the elevated standards. It's not going to be the time frame for this is throughout the rest of the year, primarily in Q2 and Q3. So it's not going to be something where we come in overnight and say, okay, that window clean that you had, tear it down. And it's going to be a process, understanding that there are new assets that might be created or refreshed, and new clings or counter cards that you might have to order within your retreat. It's going to be a process, but we will all get there by the end of Q3.
That's great. I think the thing that I'm the most excited about that we've talked today is just sort of this reverse thinking about, really local level marketing, and that those local level plans should be really integrated holistic, that they need to touch like all aspects of marketing.
Have to,
it's
yes.
not just one
Multiple
thing.
times, yes.
And that they're really going to be built on driving that 400 prospects, right? So that you can expect that if you do a certain amount of print or a certain amount of digital or a certain amount of whatever, that would be the result that you would get, as long as the staffing is there.
Yep.
Right.
The two have to work hand in hand, but ultimately, yes, that is our goal.
Yeah.
If everything is aligned, that 400 prospects is what we're aiming for every single month.
And just because you're not 400 should always be the goal. Doesn't matter how old you are, really.
Well, it can be achieved. I mean, throughout Tom Gustoff and his two of his locations, I think it was Buckhead and maybe even Brookhaven just recently, he was over 600 prospects, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, insane.
And that's a store that's been around for those stores.
7, 8, 9 years, however long. Tom Gustoff's been in our system for over 10.
Yep.
And so absolutely it can happen.
Well, and you think about, the bigger the retreat is as far as volume goes, the more numbers of members that they have and gross sales and all that, the more attrition that they're going to have. So as hard as you work, Jen Burlington, for instance, at her locations, very high volume locations, they lose a lot of members every month.
So
and it's not because of bad operations. We know that. She's a great operator. Her team is great, right? But the bigger the numbers, the more people you're going to lose. So we got to replace those so that we continue to see that volume go up, right?
Absolutely.
So the focus should always be 400 for every single store, and everything that we do operationally around the staffing and everything we do marketing should all be about getting to that 400 prospects.
Along with conversions.
And then at least a 25% conversion rate,
Yes.
right? So, well, that's really great. I'm super excited about that. Anything else that you want to share in regards to your plans this year? Anything that you're really excited about?
I'm excited about the entire year. And I'm honestly, even after 2019, I'm already thinking 2020. I'm excited for it. There is a lot to do, but it's all really exciting and necessary things. And I'm excited for the collaboration that we're going to have with the system. I'm excited to get out there in front of our franchisees, for co-ops, meeting all the strategic partners, many of which I already know, but seeing them again face to face, getting to meet newer ones that have been in the brand not too long, and just making sure that they know that they're heard. That is what we strive to do as a corporate office, not just within marketing, but it's something that from a marketing perspective now I can control, and I want to make sure that we do.
That's awesome. Mega collaboration, super important. Transparency as well, right? And I think working with as many franchise partners as we possibly can to help get those insights and feedback. So, all right, let's a couple other things. Tell me. Favorite business book or something that you're reading now that you really like?
Going back to Gigi's is one that stands out only because I've been reading it.
Yep. Is there any other book that you've read in the past that you enjoy or that you think everybody should read? Maybe it's not a business book. Maybe it's just
I know, I'm trying to think. I also have 2 small kids, and so
you're probably reading a lot of children's books, right? We can skip that.
Talk
about Gigi's. That's the one you're reading right now.
Yes,
so
it is. So that's the only reason why I think of just that one.
That works. How about favorite person ever and why? Kind of a who would you love to be, or who do you want to be more like, maybe?
So favorite person is a very easy one. My dad. That is where I learned so much of who I am, good, bad, and ugly. So my cruel sense of humor, all the way down to my hard work ethic. That's where when you talk about hard work pays off, that's who he was. And so that's an easy answer for me. That's who I aspire to be more like. Family oriented, professionally. I'm supposed to get emotional on this thing. But yeah, that's an easy answer. Absolutely all day long. My dad.
We're so glad that he was the man that he is, because that's translated into the woman that you are.
Well, thank you.
And we all benefit from that. So who elevates your life on a regular basis?
Oh, good question.
I bet I know that answer.
My kids. Yeah. And
it's Davis Bell, I heard.
Oh, Davis Bell. Everyone. Really, I would say it's my kids.
Yeah?
Only because, again, kind of going back to my dad, it's who I aspired to be and the role model that I had, and I aspire to be that same role model for my kids. With this job, I travel quite a bit. And so there's a balance, and obviously Dustin, my husband, has to pick up the slack while I'm gone. But raising two really good kids, they're 2 and 4, so they're still little, and the mom guilt is strong.
Yeah.
But
When you're traveling and all that,
but
I
I
know.
know that I'm showing them that they can do more, and they can balance, and I don't want to say have it all, because I don't have it all. I surely don't have it all figured out, but I work really hard to do so. And that's what I want to show them. Same thing, same example that was set for me. You have to put in the hard work to get what you want, and that's what I want to show them as well.
That's great. That's you're a great role model for your children. And when it's hard and you're traveling and you have that mom guilt, you have to remember that. So
Yeah. And my son slips little dinosaurs and my daughter packs me one of her teddy bears or stuffed animals. So every trip that I take, so yeah, it makes it easier. Yeah.
That's sweet. Thank you, Ashley, for joining today. It's been great to have you, and it's awesome to hear about the vision for the marketing department this year. And I know our franchise community is going to be really excited to hear all about the big plans, and I think we're set up for an amazing 2019. All right, now that you've heard from us, we'd love to hear from you. If you've got some ideas on content that you'd like to hear, guests that you'd like to see, please email us at communications@massageheights.com. Also, please like, share, and subscribe to the Massage Heights YouTube in this link. And as always, elevate the everyday.